Good morning, Flosstube, and welcome to Sew Me Sarah. I'm Sarah and I'm here to chat with you today on this YouTube video blog all about my cross stitch. Sometimes there are other needle crafts thrown in, but today it is entirely about cross stitch. So you're very welcome here. I want to say thank you to my viewing friends who keep returning month after month, who chat with me in the comments and make me smile and are a very supportive bunch. I want to thank you very much for being here and being part of my channel. And if you're new here, if you found me for the first time, I hope that you'll stick around and listen in, and I hope that you will enjoy what you see here. There's quite a bit of chit chat that goes alongside my sewing, so you might want to skip ahead to the stitching if you're not so interested in the chat, but hopefully you will be, and we will spend some time together today. I want to start this video with a thank you. Since the last time, you know that I posted a video with some thoughts, very early thoughts about the situation in Ukraine, and then I posted a little update video that same evening because I had been contacted by Laura Cheko from Tarsier Stitches, and Laura had provided some ideas of how we could help, how we could activate ourselves and be craftivists in support of Ukraine at this time when actually it's very hard for us to know what we can do. So I want to thank you for your response to that video and to your response to Laura's little campaign, which has done amazingly well. So kudos to you, Laura, for coming up with the idea for having the hashtag Stitch for Ukraine, which allows us an outlet to show that we support in ways when sometimes we find it really hard to know what else to do. So thank you to those of you who watched Laura's videos, who then went and purchased from Ukrainian designers, and I know many of you did because you've told me that you did. And that money has helped them directly. I hope that maybe you've caught some of the feedback from the Ukrainian designers. It has been mentioned on some other floss tubes, but just in case you haven't, for example, those who bought patterns from the Stitchy Princess Black on Etsy, Ekaterina was able to provide some feedback and say that that money allowed her to purchase groceries, which were very hard to come by, and allowed her to buy groceries also for her neighbours. So it has made a difference in some lives, and it might just be a pebble in a big ocean, but you know, we have lots of pebbles. Maybe we can impact lots of people's lives at this really devastatingly difficult time for them. So thank you all for your support of Laura's ideas and suggestions. Thank you if you made a donation to the charity that Laura had nominated, and thank you if you went and nominated and thank you if you went and donated to humanitarian aid or medical aid charities of your own. If you are in the UK, you might like to know that if you donate to the Disasters Emergency Committee, the DEC, which is an umbrella group for a number of aid agencies, the Disasters Emergency Committee donations will be matched by the UK government up to, oh, now it's gone straight out of my head whether it's 20 or 200 million, but anyway, it's a lot of money, and it's so much better if our government will match it. So if you donate via the DEC, your money will be doubled. So that's a good way to support the ongoing crisis that there is in Ukraine. I also want to just say that in the UK, our government have been slow to respond to opening our arms to Ukrainian refugees, and that makes me quite sad. In fact, it makes me very sad. But anyway, there is hopefully something afoot, and we are here we are due to hear more news next week about what kind of scheme there can be for us to welcome Ukrainian refugees to our homes if we've got spare space, and welcome them into our country and help support them. So I'm looking forward to hearing what that suggestion is. And in the meantime, there is an organisation called Home for Good, and they have a diversification called the Sanctuary Foundation. So if you look up Sanctuary Foundation UK, you can go there and register your interest to help Ukrainian refugees in some shape or form. So if you are a church or a school or a big organisation, or you're an individual, you can tick the box to indicate which kind of organisation or individual or person you are, and they will keep a register of your details. It's just an email address really at this stage. And what they're trying to do is, I'm explaining this terribly badly, I'm so sorry folks. But what they're trying to do is to gather a register of folks who are showing willing, churches, schools, individuals, to say, so that they can say to the government, these people are already willing to help. They're already willing to help refugees who come to the country. So if you're interested in that, the link is down below, and it's for Sanctuary Foundation. You're not committing to anything immediately, but you have registered an interest. And I guess that helps perhaps put a little bit of pressure on our government. If an organisation, a charitable organisation, can say, look, we have people willing and ready to take refugees in, or to agree to fundraise for refugees, or agree to be befrienders to refugees. So there are different options within that, and you don't have to commit to any of those just yet. You're registering an interest, that's all it is. So anyway, I hope that maybe provides some of you with another idea of where you can go to look to provide some help and support. So moving on to the regular Flosstube kind of content, I want to start today with some thanks for Happy Mail. So I received a parcel in the post, which I knew was coming because I'd been asked for my address by the lovely Sue. And Sue was actually here in Northern Ireland visiting her mum. Sue is a viewer and she watches from Zambia. But I take it that since your mum is here, Sue, that your roots are all here and you are a Northern Ireland girl at heart. So Sue was visiting her mum, and she very kindly said she had a little parcel to pop in the post to me. Could I give her my address? So I did. And what arrived was anything but little. This enormous package arrived, and I thought, oh my goodness, what could be in here? And it was full of goodies for me, well, for Miss Charlotte, obviously. So bunny ears, which will be very popular as Easter approaches. And, well, enough stickers and books to decorate my house, my whole house, Sue. So I think you maybe enjoyed choosing those stickers, and that's how come Charlotte got such a massive bundle. Thank you so much. She was delighted. The very first thing that she tore out of the package when I showed her, and I tried to explain to her that one of Mummy's friends has sent this lovely parcel for her, and she does love a parcel. But one of the first things that she tore out of the parcel was this finger painting kit. And it was really quite interesting to see, because Charlotte has not liked messy play and not enjoyed finger painting and getting her hands into stuff really in the past. But just about the week before you sent your parcel, she had been doing a little bit of finger painting at school. So this was really exciting to her to have finger painting at home. And I thought I wasn't going to be able to get her to stop finger painting long enough to eat her dinner that evening. But she had great fun with it, and we will continue to have fun with it, and hope she doesn't paint my walls. So thank you so much, Sue. That was really kind of you to think of Charlotte and to send her all of those goodies. It was really lovely. And Sue was kind enough to include for me a humongous piece of 16-count Ada. Yes, 16-count Ada. So I will be able to have lots of fun practicing my dyeing skills, I think, on that. And a lovely selection. Let me see if I can hold this behind it. a lovely selection of DMC flosses and variegateds, and a lot of the lower numbers, which I believe are newer to DMC, so they're not as common and certainly not in my stash, but I love them. This yellow is beautiful, and the green, they're all beautiful. So, and there's a couple of lovely variegateds. This one is like strawberry sundae, and this one is like pink chocolate, so it goes well with my top today. So Sue, thank you so much. You really did not need to do that. I know you said it was a thank you for everything that I do here on the channel, but I just come on and chat about my stitching and share with you all and enjoy that and enjoy the feedback. There's no need for anyone to be sending anything, but it is very gratefully received and it's very touching. So I also received a lovely little card and a gift from Michele at Penny's Daughter Shares. I hope you have seen Michele's Flosstube before, and if you haven't, you need to pop over there. I'll put a link to her below. So she sent me a beautiful little thank you card because I had sent her a chart. So Michele is Penny's daughter, and that is why her Flosstube channel is Penny's Daughter Shares. And Michele, when she sees a penny or anything related to Penny, is reminded of her mum, who Michele lost many years ago, far, far too young. So Michele sent this thank you, which is very special to me. It's a thank you for a pattern that I sent her, which was penny related. And I knew that I had it, and I thought she was the perfect person for it. But she sent me this penny pull. And it's just a little penny on a friendship braid type pull. And I will be putting this on a project bag or possibly hanging it with my other little mementos over in the stitchy corner. But thank you so much, Michele. It's really nice to have these connections across the Atlantic Ocean. And you're very welcome for the pattern. You didn't need to do this, but I love it. Thank you very much indeed. Now, you might be able to see behind me that I have redecorated, that Valentine has gone. And such as it is, I have some Easter decoration now. So I got a little bunny rabbit and some wooden painted eggs. And this is a spring pillow. This is... I'm not sure if I've actually shown this. No, I think I have, because I showed the finishing. So it says, "The sun shines when I'm with you, and what's more spring than a daffodil or two?" This is a pattern by the Blue Flower, and the name escapes me, but I'll put it across the bottom. Sorry. Oh, I think it's called Language of Flowers Spring. That's it, Language of Flower Spring. And I stitched this with my initials and hubby's initials, and I made it into a little pillow. So that's part of my spring display. And there, sorry for showing the back of my hair. And there's a little chicken over this side, which was a gift in one of my stitchy subscription boxes from Cotton and Twine last year. So that's really it in terms of Easter decorating here. And yes, but you know, I have plans for stitching, and maybe over the years it will gradually be added to a little bit here and there, just to brighten the place up again for spring. You will notice that I haven't decorated for St. Patrick's Day. So here I am, living in the north of Ireland, not decorating for St. Patrick's Day. And I have been watching lots of Flosstubes this week where folks are showing their St. Patrick's Day displays. And I find that quite curious, actually. It's really quite strange. It's not something that we do here. People do not decorate their homes for St. Patrick's Day, not really. In fact, I've never seen anybody with anything that decorates for St. Patrick's Day in their homes here. And I am talking about Northern Ireland, so maybe it's different, although I'm not sure that it's that different. So here we would have, you have the day off for St. Patrick's Day. It is a national holiday. There will be a big St. Patrick's Day parade in Dublin in the south, and in Belfast here in the north, and there's probably one in Londonderry, I'm not entirely sure, which is the very north of Northern Ireland. And people will perhaps go to the parades and they will wear green or a silly hat or, you know, a leprechaun hat or a ginger beard or something like that. But in general, we don't. We don't decide that we'll just wear green and put on a green t-shirt or green shoes. We don't do that for St. Patrick's Day. We don't drink green beer. They'd probably be very offended here if you dyed their beautiful beer. It's probably more likely to be a pint of the black stuff that is celebrated here, a pint of Guinness. We don't eat corned beef and cabbage. I went to the US, I went to Florida with my mum in the year 2000, and we went to stay with my aunt. And we were there over St. Patrick's Day, and we went out to eat for lunch on St. Patrick's Day, and I really honestly had never seen anything like it. Everywhere we went was fully decorated for St. Patrick's Day, and there were St. Patrick's Day specials on. There was corned beef and cabbage everywhere, and I have never eaten corned beef and cabbage in my life, folks. It is not something I've ever seen on the menu here, north or south. I don't know. I guess a lot of the traditions are coming from America, celebrating St. Patrick's Day, celebrating your Irish heritage, and that's great. I think that's, you know, your expatriates, you've found a way to remember the old country, as it were. It just isn't what we do here, so I find it quite strange. And almost like as if I should be decorating, but I'm not. Anyway, all of this to say is St. Patrick's Day here is a very different thing. And I mean, for us growing up, there wasn't really anything. There weren't even parades at the time. That was probably to do with Northern Ireland's difficult history in my childhood years. There might have been a church social or two. I do remember there being a church social, and while we would not have eaten corned beef and cabbage, what you would find here, if anyone is doing anything traditional, is that you would find that we would have an Irish stew, which would be made either with beef or lamb and your potatoes and carrots and that kind of thing. You might have champ and sausages, good Irish pork sausages. Champ is mashed potato with lashings and lashings of butter and spring onions, or scallions as we call them. Little, you know, the salad onions with the tiny white bulb and the long green stem. Scallions, spring onions. So it's basically, yes, a very buttery mashed potato with scallions in. It's delicious. There's not enough places to serve it anymore. Like everything, it's not always in fashion, but champ and pork sausages or Irish stew would be much more common as a celebration of St. Patrick's meal here than corned beef and cabbage. And also then on St. Patrick's Day, apple tart would be very popular. Apple pie, apple tart for desserts. But I say that, you know, a restaurant might do it, or a coffee shop might do it, or that. It's not something that people go into in a big way at home. We don't have big St. Patrick's Day parties at home. It's not like the 4th of July where you gather all the family around. Some people might, but just traditionally that's not really a big thing. For the schools here, the senior schools, there was always, is always, and still is, the Ulster Schools Rugby Cup final is played on St. Patrick's Day. So that is a big sporting day. And I'm sure that it is, I'm not really into sports, I'm sure it's a sporting event for other sports as well. And that's probably about as much as I can tell you about St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick himself was not Irish, he was Welsh. He was a pig farmer who came across to Ireland in his boat and decided that he would give off and tell us all off for leading our debaucherous lives and introduce us to Christianity here. The thing about the snakes, whether he drove snakes out of Ireland, is anybody's guess. I'm not sure there really were snakes here. But he was a Welsh pig farmer and he was a party pooper. So I find it really interesting to see that all of the shenanigans and the drinking and the fun that goes on with St. Patrick's Day is probably making the man roll in his grave. But anyway, for those of you who like to celebrate your Irish heritage and your Irish roots, I say go for it and enjoy it. And I apologize that I don't have anything St. Patrick's to show you, except if you just hang on one little minute, we do have something for you. So all of that said, I know that there are some of you who like to celebrate St. Patrick's and remember your Irish roots. So we thought we would give you a little bit of Irish musical entertainment today. And Mr. So Me Sarah, Alan over there, say hello.
Hello.
Has been practicing for you on the penny whistle. So we're going to let you hear some lovely Irish music and let you see some scenes from around the north of Ireland. I hope you enjoy. So I hope that you enjoyed seeing those pictures of this beautiful country that we live in here. Most of the photos will have been from the north of Ireland because that's where we live. There might have been one or two introduced from other parts of Ireland. But I wanted you to see the beautiful country that we have here and have a little bit of Irishness for St. Patrick's Day, even if I don't have a display behind me. Hubby was very nervous but very keen. He loves music and he has been practicing penny whistle only for about 4 months. He picked it up some years ago for a little bit and you know, life just gets busy and it gets, you know, the penny whistle is found in the back of a shelf some years later. So, but he loves music and he feels quite strong connections to Irishness. And when I said to him, well, would you do this for my Flosstube? He said yes, but he was quite nervous and he was practicing a lot. So we're not claiming professionalism here, but I hope that you enjoyed the tune, which I believe is called Welcome to California, but is an Irish jig. So let's leave St. Patrick's Day and move on to something else. Maybe we'll actually get to some stitchy talk. So market. Are you marketed out yet? That's what I want to know. I am, but I'm like a moth to a flame. It's not good for me, but I keep going back for more. So I haven't made any purchases, but I'm watching, and I think, oh, it's another market video. And then I watch it anyway. Even though I've seen most of the releases before, there might be just another one. There might just be one that I haven't seen. There might just be a one that I love more. There are fantastic releases, as I'm sure you know, through this year's market. And I am looking forward to, at some point, I'm not in a rush, at some point making a few market purchases. Haven't quite decided which I will make yet. My favorite market release is actually a pattern that I already have. It is the Seasons of the Heart Spring by the Blue Flower by Janine McGowan. Now it's not Seasons of the Heart Spring by Brenda Gervais, because I know that Brenda Gervais with a Needle and Thread also released a series called Seasons of the Heart, which are very beautiful too. But my absolute favourite is Seasons of the Heart Spring by Janine McGowan at the Blue Flower The reason I already have it is because it was an exclusive for Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine last spring. So spring 2021, if you are subscribed, you will find it there and you won't need to purchase it. And there are 3 more to come, so that is the good news. They weren't released at market, but Janine has 3 more. She obviously has summer, autumn and winter, and they are worth watching out for. So releases that I could purchase then, what would I say is my favourite? It is so hard to pick a favourite. I loved the Brenda Gervais with a needle and thread sampler called Rejoice Evermore. I loved the colours, bluebirds and pinks, and oh, it was gorgeous, really, really gorgeous. I loved the Primrose Cottage designs with all the bees, but I do have a lot of bees that I haven't even stitched yet. They're gorgeous. Hive Rules was a nice one. What else did I like? There were lovely blackbird designs, but I would like to see those a little bit closer up to know if I would actually want to stitch them and hang them. Yeah, so share with me your top market release or your top 2 market releases. I'm curious to know. I'm sure there are many of you excitedly opening your bundles of market purchases right now. So that is, it always an exciting time to have some new things arrive, isn't it? So anyway, let's get on to some actual stitches. So today I have a couple of finished objects for you. First, I have La Finestra del Tempo, and this is a stitch along that I'm hosting on Instagram. So the hashtag is Finestra del Tempo Sal, and I have stitched August. How cute is that? Look, there's a bikini and flip-flops. I think those are called thongs in other parts of the world, but we call them flip-flops. A thong here is a very different thing. Koala, watermelon, an ice cream cart, adorable. I love it. So now I need to fully finish it, and I'm trying to make up my mind which of these 2 fabrics I will use. This darker one is an Ovals by Art Gallery Fabric, Oval Elements by Art Gallery Fabric, and it is perfect with the blue of this August. But I'm not sure if it's a little bit too dark for the summer, or should I go for the gingham and pick up the paler aqua blue colours that are in the ice cream cart? Decisions. It could be this one, or it could be, I have to fold this down so you can actually see some of the fabric. Could be this one. Oh, that is tough. Every time I look at it, I think I know what I want to do, and then I change my mind. What do you think? Gingham or ovals? Let me know. So that is the first finish that I had. My next finish, I am delighted to say, is the result of an order of thread arriving. So I got an extra skein of Black Crow, and I was able to finish La-di-da, Rain, Rain. I love it. I love the umbrella so much. I love everything about it. I love the flowers. I'm proud of myself for the 1/1 text stitching, and I'm just so happy to have stitched my unicorn chart. If you've been with me for a while, you'll know the story already, but for those of you who don't know, this was my unicorn chart. Your unicorn chart, if you don't know that either, is, and I didn't until last year, but unicorn chart is the mythical chart, the chart you can't get hold of, the one that you really want to stitch, but it's either maybe out of print or you just cannot find it anywhere. So it's practically mythical. This chart, La-di-da's Rain, Rain, was really hard for me to find. But last year, when I mentioned on one of the common threaded stitcher prompts last August, when I mentioned there that my unicorn chart was this chart, I had 2 lovely Instagram followers who were able to get hold of it for me and sent it to me. So I ended up with 2 copies of my unicorn chart, which was most generous. So I have already thanked them profusely, and I'm so touched by that kindness and thoughtfulness. And actually today I want to pass the kindness on. So, but first I'm going to show you again, so you can see. The only thing I changed on this chart were my initials. So the SE that's up here. The chart has an LM for the designer Lori Markovic. Okay, so I just changed it to SE. This is stitched on the 32 count linen. It's a mystery linen because it was gifted to me. I've been very blessed with gifts this year. It's perfect for it. I stitched with the Black Crow, which was the only called for fancy floss that I used, overdyed. And the other flosses that I used were the DMCs, which are listed on the chart. So there's a DMC alternative listed on the chart, and I used those. The only one I didn't was for the black. And I'm super happy with that. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it, how I'm going to frame it or display it, but I will percolate that notion and see what happens in the end. So thank you to Jen and to the other Instagram viewer who prefers to remain anonymous, to the two of you for sending me my your copies of Rain and allowing me to stitch my unicorn chart. I am absolutely delighted to have done that. And as I said, I want to pay it forward, and I want to share the 2 charts. The first one I have already passed on. One of the viewers here on Flosstube Channel mentioned that she is creating a rainy day display of cross stitches, and I asked her if she would like the copy of Rain, and she was very grateful for that, so I have paid that one forward already. And this one I would like to pay forward in one of my shares. So today there will be a share of La Di Da Rain. Please, if you're interested in having this chart to stitch, not to sell, please stitch it. If you're interested in having this chart, use the word rain in your comment. Please be over 18. Please don't mention any of the words that attract the trolls, like winner or giveaway or freebie or anything like that. And please be a subscriber and like today's video. So just use the word rain and you'll be in with a chance of having this as a share. So that is my finish for Rain. Okay, just a quick word about my display boards. Someone did ask, and I've been asked several times, about these boards that I use to show you my stitching. So I'll show you this one, it's coming up soon, okay? This is a design board a la Laurie Holt. This is one that I made myself following her tutorial. So she has tutorials on her blog. She also has a tutorial on the Fat Quarter Shop website. And these are design boards for quilting, actually. So the idea is that when you're quilting, let's say you're making a patchwork block and you have 18 different pieces of fabric to lay out, that you would lay them all out on this in the order that they're meant to be stitched, and that is an aid to the quilter. When you're sewing, then everything's laid out nicely, and you're not, it helps you not to get muddled up and mixed up. Essentially, it's a piece of board of some kind. So I've used foam core board because it's very light. You could use wood, you can use anything you want to that's sturdy enough, but it is worth having something light, I would say. So foam core, or I've made some smaller ones with matte board. And then you basically stick a piece of quilter's wadding on. So this is a piece of the wadding that goes in between the 2 layers of a quilt. So the essence of this is you're just sticking it onto your board, and then you're adding a little bit of binding around the board. Now the binding is not necessary, it's a nice addition. If you want to do it, do it. If you don't, don't. But I have found these boards really super helpful for showing you my stitching because it acts like fuzzy felt. Did anyone else remember fuzzy felt? Was that just a UK thing or is that a worldwide thing? I don't know. But fuzzy felt boards, it was a child's game, and you bought a picture and there was a board, and then there were little felt pieces that would have made up a particular themed picture. So it might have been one about the zoo, and there would have been felt pieces of animals and maybe a visitor, you know, children or whatever, and you'd create little scenes, whatever. Anyway, I digress. But essentially this acts the same way in that once you have a piece of fabric, the wadding kind of grips it and you can display it. And it's really helpful when you're on Flosstube. It doesn't fall off unless your piece is very heavy, in which case you can just use a couple of clover clips across the top, wonder clips. But anyway, I was asked, so I thought I would just reiterate, and I'll put the tutorials down below if you want to see how it's done. But essentially it's a piece of quilter's wadding attached to some kind of board, stuck down, and it's very handy. I mean, you can do it neater than that, but you know, you're getting the idea. So I'll talk about that little piece in a bit. So the next piece I have to show you is another piece by The Blue Flower by Janine McGowan, and it is called The Gentle Rain. There we go. Gorgeous, gorgeous chart. And I am stitching this as part of a stitch along with Joanita at Stitchy Things. Another floss tuber. Go watch Joanita if you haven't already, please. So Joanita and I decided that we would start this on New Year's Day and we would make it our 2022 sal. She's much further ahead than I am, but I am enjoying the stitching. And I spent some time this week on the tree. And I hope you can see the little nest of eggs and the birdies and those flowers, which I think they're like magnolias. I don't know if that's what they're supposed to be, but they look like magnolia blossoms to me. Big and beautiful. For this piece, I'm using a 32 count Murano that I dyed myself in the Dylon Peony Pink. There is a video tutorial, I think it's one of my Flosstube extras, maybe number 6, but it's from a few weeks back when I showed how to dye this with the Dylon dye. I am using mostly the DMC that is the alternative suggestion on the pattern. And but I have made a couple of substitutions, so I'm going to be using Anchor 403 when there's black. I don't think I've stitched any black yet. The swirls up here were an over dye that I couldn't get hold of at the time, so I switched that out for a DMC variegated. I think it's 4020. Yes, 4020 instead of Frosted Sage. And everything else is pretty much then the DMC recommendations, or very close to it. I love it. I have a bit of work to finish at the bottom of the tree here, and then there are all sorts of exciting things I can be stitching. Oh, sorry. I can't hold both at once. So you see that I will be stitching first this vase on this side, some flowers here, and then I get to do the girl in her raincoat and her dog and the fountain. Oh, there are so many lovely bits and pieces in Janine's patterns, really. It makes for a very fun stitch. So that is my progress on the Gentle Rain. I also am in another stitch along, which is a Mother's Love sal, and we are stitching What Remains by Blackbird Designs. We're stitching this in honor of our mums who have passed away. And everyone's just stitching at their own pace, but it's beautiful to see, and it's beautiful to be part of someone's memorialization and memories. This chart, you'll be glad to know, has finally been released at market. It looks the same to me. It doesn't look any different. Certainly the cover of the booklet is no different. There had been a suggestion that it might be released with a few tweaks, but it doesn't look any different. And the model that was on display at market, I believe, looks the same to me. So I hope that those of you who were really keen to get hold of it have found somewhere that you can get this from. I haven't seen any of the UK shops put their market releases up yet, but hopefully in the next week or two we will see some more of those coming through. But certainly a lot of the US shops have it already, so it's certainly been popular. And I'm glad that you're going to be able to get it now. So I have worked a little bit more on it. I am working on a 35 count antique lamb's wool permin linen. I'm working 1 strand of floss, stitching over 2 threads. Absolutely love how fine that is. I hope you can see. Sorry, I don't want to show you my face, but I'm just trying to make sure you can see it. The satin stitch sometimes looks a little sparse, like over here. Oh, sorry, here. But when I pull it back, you don't notice that. So since the last time I have stitched this whole urn of flowers, and this urn was in place, but none of the flowers were, so that's all been added. So it's not a huge amount of progress, but still a little bit. And it's just nice to pick this up when I'm thinking about mum or missing mum or whatever. And it's a nice way to remember her. You will also remember that I am stitching the Fat Quarter Shop Heartfelt Sal. That is the stitch along that they are doing this year for their Make-A-Wish Foundation appeal. So the chart is free. There's also a quilting chart, quilting pattern as well. The cross stitch and quilting patterns are free, but Fat Quarter Shop are asking us to make donations to the Make-A-Wish campaign, and they're trying to raise a lot of money to help children who have terminal illnesses and families who want to make wishes come true for their loved ones. So the heartfelt stitch along looks like this, and I love it, and I love that it is being released monthly and not weekly. And it's a nice manageable amount of stitching. So the first release was all of that like chain grey border that you can see, and the second release, which we have just finished, was released last week, is the first column here. So that is a nice amount of stitching. That is a nice amount of stitching to feel like you've achieved something, but also not to drown in. Sometimes the sometimes stitch alongs can just be a bit more than we expected them to be, and we overwhelm ourselves. But you can see that I got those ones all stitched up, and I love them. So that's it already. It's on a 16 count Ada that I dyed myself in the Peony Pink again, dye on. And I really am happy with the choice of this as the background fabric for the design. I was slightly worried that this very palest pink might be too pale when it came to actually stitching it on, but it's not. It works really well. The colours aren't as nice, showing up as nicely as they are in real life, but probably because it's a bit grim outside today, in spite of my ring light. So that is the Fat Quarter Shop Heartfelt. Sorry, I'm a little bit watery-eyed because I just had a bit of a coughing attack, but hopefully it won't interrupt proceedings here. So this next whip that I worked on is My Necessity by Heartstring Samplery. If I show you here, This piece, you may remember, is one I'm stitching for my 25th wedding anniversary, which is later this year, much later this year, so it's a very slow pace. And since last time I have stitched the words My Necessity and started this coffee bean border down here. So I love a good band sampler. I'm stitching this on 32 count Murano in silver grey. There's a lot of Murano in today's stitching. I do love Murano even weave, it's beautiful to work with. And the thread is DMC 3371, which is a dark brown. Not a huge amount of progress, but progress nonetheless. Another whip then that I have made a little progress on is one that I just started last time, if you recall. And this one is called Easter Blooms, and it is by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. And I forgot to pull the pattern out, so let me get that for you. It is Easter Blooms by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. There we go. And I haven't really got any Easter stitches, so I thought I would try to do this one this year. And I think it's lovely. It's just happy and spring-like. Yellow, the main yellow there is the DMC 75, and it's glorious. I love it. That is Caterpillar Cross Stitch, who I hope that you were able to see during the week on the 8th. It's too late to tell you now, but anyway, on the 8th they were donating all of the proceeds of their PDF purchases to Ukrainian humanitarian aid, and I think that's a great thing, and I'm very happy that the stores have been supporting those causes as well. So there's not too much more to do, and this is a nice stitch because it's a 16 count Ada. It's a cream Ada, I don't know. I don't know what the brand is. It was just a piece that I found in my stash from a long time ago. But it's 16 count Ada, so it makes it quite quick. And it's a nice stitch to do when you're tired because it's not too hard on the eyes. And the bright colours really help. You're not struggling with the contrast between your thread and your fabric. I do apologise, I've gone a bit froggy. Anyway, that is it for whips. I want to show you a couple of patterns to do with the support for Ukraine. But I have one other new start first, which has got absolutely nothing to do with anything and shouldn't be. But you know, it has actually been really difficult to settle. My brain is everywhere right now. There's so much going on in the world, and I'm just very easily distracted. I do sit down to stitch, but I don't stitch for as long as I would normally stitch. I find myself looking at this and looking at that and back to the news reports and back to this and then thinking about this and having a look at charities, and anyway. I'm sure some of you know how it goes because I have heard other people mention that they're experiencing the same thing. Anyway, in one of my flighty moments, I was passing by my bag of hopefuls for this year, looking for something else entirely, and saw this one again. The Dimensions Petites, Gold Collection Petites. It's a kit, and this one's called A Kiss for Snowman. And I happened to be looking through the bag when Charlotte was also with me. When she saw it, she said, "Oh, it's Charlotte and Snowman." And I haven't actually shown her this before, but that was exactly what I thought when I saw it the first time. So anyway, that was just a nice few seconds, but they lingered in my head, and I went back and I made some dinner and I fiddled about and I tidied up, and it was in my head and it was in my head, and I was doing some laundry and it was in my head, and anyway, needless to say, later on when I sat down, did I stitch what I was supposed to stitch that night, or did I start the new kit? Of course I started the new kit. So it's a very small start, but it is the beginning of the snowman's face. And I know that these kits, well, I don't know, sometimes they fall in and out of fashion, but I still think they're very clever. They're very clever how they blend threads, how they use one thread sometimes, how they use half stitches. I think that's artistry, and I enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to stitching this in slow time, of course. But I just thought I would share with you my stitch, my new start. So the only stitching I have left to show you are the few bits that I have which were purchased or downloaded as freebies in support of Ukrainian stitchers and the Ukraine appeals. So there's been so much on Flosstube and you won't have been able to miss it, and on Instagram too. And I think it's great that there are lots of choices and options for us to be able to get involved in a way that suits us and in a way that works for us. Some of it is about solving the feelings that we have, feelings perhaps of guilt that it's, you know, this is happening to other people and not to us. It doesn't seem fair, but it helps to stitch for them. It helps to have those thoughts of love and prayers in our heads and keep our hands busy at the same time. And it helps when we pay money to the Ukrainian designers to enable them to do something. And it helps when we give money to the humanitarian and medical aid supplies charities. So our hands are tied. There is only so much we can do, but some of the things we can do have been supporting in this way. So when I had a look through Etsy at the Ukrainian designers, I found this designer, I think it's actually two ladies who design under the name CrossStitchingforFun. And this chart is called Love and Hearts, and it's very small and very doable, and you can change the colors whatever way you like. But I just wanted to stitch it because I was thinking that there's, you know, there are loving thoughts in my heart for the people of Ukraine and what they're having to suffer at this time. So that was beautiful. I have drawn on the back of it already a heart shape, an outline, so I'm hoping to be able to make this into a pillow at some point. It'll probably be a while, but I just went ahead with this shape. So that is my plan. So that was a nice little download off Etsy from CrossStitchingforFun. Okay. Again, I will try to link everything down below the way that I normally do. If I miss anything, because there's quite a bit today, if I miss anything, please shout. If it's something you're interested in and can't find just by a Google search, then please shout and I'll do my best to help provide you with the link. Hopefully I won't miss. Anyway, another of the Etsy designers who is in the Ukraine is, I think her name is Lena, but she's 2x2 stitch art. And I've shown you my, what I call my square tile motif sampler, and it is by 2x, yeah, it is a design from 2x2 stitch art on Etsy, but I didn't realize that she was Ukrainian. So whenever I saw her name come up on the lists that have been provided of Ukrainian designers, I went back and had a look to see if there were other patterns that I could perhaps purchase to support her. And I chose this pattern. It's just called Sampler 106, and it's by 2x2 stitch art on Etsy. But anyway, here you go. One of the nice things about this Etsy seller is that when you go to the chart on her Etsy page, there are lots of options to view it on different fabrics. So you will be able to view this on a pink fabric or a green fabric or maybe a grey fabric. You'll be able to view it on a neutral fabric with a dark thread. So a lot of her charts show different color combinations, and I think that sometimes that helps our brains to appreciate a chart when it's in a color or something that will appeal to us. Sometimes it's harder to think outside of the box of the pattern. Anyway, I thought this was stunning. I downloaded it. Then I realized it was 415 by 415 stitches. I have no idea if I'll ever actually stitch this. I'm delighted to have been able to support the designer. So it doesn't bother me at all that I've purchased something I may never stitch. But it would be lovely to stitch, wouldn't it? So I love it. And I was thinking something like this. This is a, excuse me. This is a permanent linen in 32 count and it's called Country French Rain. It's got a real bluish tone to it. It's not as grey as it looks here. It's much bluer. Let's see if I can get it. Maybe like that. It's a bit more blue, is it? But I thought if you were to stitch if you were to stitch this design on this fabric with perhaps a silky ivory colour, beautiful, beautiful. But I just don't know if I can work myself up to 415 stitches square, given everything else that's going on. So I don't know. It's one that's it's filed. It's filed in my head, and it would require a huge piece of fabric, wouldn't it? So that's something else to consider. Unless I got really good and was able to stitch small like Ymir from Almond M&M's. I'm not thinking that's going to happen anytime soon. But anyway, that is designed by 2x2 Stitch Art on Etsy. It was one of my Ukrainian support purchases. And you will also have seen that there are many designers who have put out free patterns in support of Ukraine so that we can stitch just to share a symbol of our solidarity, our support for them. And one of those, of course, is Jacob, because he's so good at supporting all kinds of things. So Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery put out this chart called Mir, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it is the Ukrainian word for peace. And it's beautiful. I'm going to stitch this on 32 count Murano in antique white, and I'm going to use 2 silky variegated threads. So the blue is 4055 and the yellow is 4002. I've made the tiniest of starts on this morning while I was waiting for the house to clear so that I could record this video. And it is literally the tiniest of starts on the border. But I am looking forward to stitching that. So what are my plans for the next few weeks? Well, I hope very much that I'll be back to see you in a few weeks' time, but I have no idea how much stitching I will be showing you because I am about to pick up a small part-time job, number 3. So I have 2 part-time jobs already, and they're just small hours. It's just the way life is panning out at the minute. But we could really use some extra work, and I have had an opportunity present itself. I don't know yet quite what the extent of that opportunity will be, but it will hopefully be a few more hours a week that will be flexible enough to work around life with Charlotte and her needs and everything else that goes on here. So yes, I am going to be busy. I will hold on to my stitching for sanity as much as I possibly can, and I will be back to see you when I can. There may just be less to share, but maybe you could all do with a little bit less chat from me. Anyway, so while this world continues to be a very complex place where the levity of my videos about stitching coexist with the horrors that people face as they have to flee their home country, which is under invasion from another authority. I hope that somehow you're all able to stay well, to not get too ground down, in it and to find ways to feel helpful and to be supportive of those who need us most at this time. So until next time, folks, I really hope that you can stay well and stitch some happy.